Welcome to Author's Edge Show. Join us for lively conversations with writers, publishers, songwriters, illustrators, and artists, diving into the art of storytelling. Catch us every Saturday at 8 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. on KWRH FM 92.9 and KXOK FM 102.9, or stream online at KXOK102.com, KWHR929.com, and via free apps, iHeartRadio, Odyssey, and TuneIn. The show also airs nationwide Monday to Friday at 8 a.m. on the My Genre Radio Network. Missed an episode? Find us anytime on SoundCloud, YouTube, or at authorsedge.org. Now that's authorsedge.org. And welcome back to the studio, everyone, and welcome to Author's Edge. I am your host, Gail Freer, and today we have an exciting guest joining us, Mary Ann Featherston, author of Stand Tall, Little Twig. We have the book right here. She lives in the Cape Girardeau, Missouri area with her husband and miniature Australian Shepherd, which are the cutest little things. She and her husband have two sons, Joshua and Eric, a daughter-in-law, Gretchen, and three grandchildren, Alex, Caden, and Cooper. She has loved to read ever since she was a little girl in the third grade, where the class would have library time once a week. The librarian would read to the children and then let them check out books. This opened a whole new world for her. She enjoys writing, traveling, music, cooking, reading, and spending time with family and friends. She loves coffee and chocolate. And chocolate is one of my favorite. Coffee she can keep, chocolate, no problem. Welcome to the show, Mary Ann. So happy to have you here.
Thank you. So pleased to be here.
We've all had that moment in time when we opened the book and we learned that books are the best thing in the world. I had my moment when I was in first grade, and my mom would read to me. Okay, that was what my mom read to me when I was very little and all of that. But the person that was my key was Mrs. Benedetti in the first grade. She taught me how to read. I will never forget this woman. That was my moment. But your moment was in the third grade. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so let's rewind a bit and talk about your beginnings. What were those early moments like for you when storytelling was first took hold?
Well, just to be able to be read to you all the exciting stories and check out books, and I would take them home and read them, and then I would go back the next week and get more books, and it was just an exciting time and opened a whole new world, and I've loved to read ever since then.
For me, my mother, Saturdays was cleaning day for us in our house. Okay. That was, my mother worked. My mother was a teacher. She worked. My dad was a policeman. He worked. So Saturdays were cleaning day. Sundays was church day. Okay. That was the way it was in our house. Well, for my mother to get me to clean was almost impossible because she couldn't find me, because I was always outside under the weeping willow tree with my books.
That's awesome.
That was where I was hiding. That's it. There was no getting around that. All right. So, and when Mrs. Benedetti taught me how to read, I was lost. That was it. So I understand and that's what got me to being a teacher, was that love of books. And I was just going to share that with the world. Took me 39 years to figure that out, that maybe, yeah. Did your school librarian, your school librarian influenced you deeply with the book? So what
Yes.
books do you remember?
Oh, I loved Beverly Clearly books.
Yes.
And Henry and the Paper Route, and just all the funny things that Henry got into, the situations. And I also loved Anne of Green Gables as I got older.
Uh-huh.
But those are my favorite books that I like to read. Anything involving other children I enjoyed, and animals.
And animals.
Mm-hmm. Yes, those were my favorite things to read. And I would just pretend like I was in the book and those things were happening to me.
Yes.
And And I was from a country girl. We lived in the country in Tennessee, and I was the oldest of 5 children. So this
So
was,
did you teach the other ones to read?
I did not teach them to read, but I read to them,
Yeah.
to my sisters. So, and it was,
Are all your siblings sisters?
I have one brother.
You had one brother.
Mhm. Yeah.
See, what I used to do is I used to do school.
Okay.
Okay, so I would set up. I had the desk. I had my make believe chalkboard, and I had the whole. And I would make believe I was in school, and I would make my sister and my brother be in school, which explains why they hated school. They hated school because
Wow.
I was stern.
A strict teacher.
Yes, I was a strict teacher. Then I started teaching. That's yeah, never mind. Let's not go there. So, what's always on your nightstand now?
Oh, I read. I read a lot of Christian fiction. Karen Kingsbury and Deborah. Can't think of some of the authors' names.
That's okay.
I have several author friends because I'm in a group.
Okay. What are some of your author friends?
Karen Sargent.
Uh-huh. Now
Cheyenne.
I think I interviewed her. Trying to remember.
Cheyenne Mill is one of them, and Nancy Mill. And there's several good authors.
What? Oh, so you said Christian fiction is your favorite genre?
That's my favorite, and I do read other.
What other genres do you like?
I just like. I like to read devotionals, and I do like to read Facebook.
What?
Facebook.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So everybody likes to read Facebook. I love reading Facebook. Are you kidding? It's so much fun. I like reading some of the, actually there's the reels on Facebook.
Yes.
I've gotten it. It's awful. There is one reel. There's one, I think it's called a nursery nurse or something. I don't remember. But anyway, there's one it's like little snippet stories. And
yes.
And I like it's junk food for the brain.
It is.
I mean, everybody likes chips and dip. Well, I like that for my brain.
Yes.
And it's fun. It's just fun.
I also like nonfiction as well.
Like what?
Just anything that's happening in the world, just anything. I can't think of anything in particular, but sorry.
That's okay. You also, your life seems full of love and laughter and meaning, right? And let's talk about some of the people and the moments that shape your stories. Okay. Often your stories seem rooted in real life. Let's chat about that. Do your grandchildren inspire your children's stories?
Yes, they do. They, by the way they talk and things that make them happy, it makes me happy. If they're happy, I'm happy. And animals, I like, we have an Australian Shepherd, and I had a little Dachshund before her, and I wrote some stories about her and with children, but children were in it, but they were animals. Does that make sense? The characters were animals.
No, that makes sense. That makes lots of sense. What do Alex, Caden, and Cooper think of your stories?
Oh, they love it. Alex, he's my oldest one.
How old is Alex?
He is 24. He's a teacher, music teacher in Jefferson City. And when I post something where I've been to a signing, he'll post on his Facebook page, and he buys my books and just promotes them. And of course, the other two, Caden's a little shy. He's not shy, but he's
introverted.
Yeah, that's it. And they love it that their grandma is a writer.
Are any of them in the stories? Maybe personality traits.
Well, my book, I won't say that my grandchildren was in it, but my boys, I
Joshua and
had,
Eric?
yes, I had them pictured in my mind that they were the little boy planting the tree and
Uh-huh.
and riding the bicycles and watering the tree, watering
So what do your
twig.
sons think about the book?
Oh, they love it. I actually dedicated it to them.
Okay.
So both of my sons.
So how do family gatherings influence your writing?
Mm, I don't know, just love, companionship, um, family, just, you know, togetherness.
What about your dog? Do you have any stories that your little what's your dog's name?
Shelby. My dog's
Shelby.
name is Shelby.
How did Shelby get her name?
I had an aunt. Her name was Shelby Sue. They always called her Shelby Sue, and I always loved that. So I call my dog Shelby Sue.
Well, how's your aunt feel about that?
She's no longer with us.
Oh, okay. So
But
she didn't know.
she doesn't know. But yeah, that's how. And my first dog,
Uh-huh.
her name was Sophie. She was a little Dotson, a little red Dotson. And one of the first stories that I ever wrote,
Uh-huh.
she was in my mind.
Right.
And I had my sister in the book, and
Uh-huh.
but they were all animals.
So when did you start writing?
Oh, let's see. I started about writing short stories about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I wrote those for a while. And I wanted to get involved. I wanted to write children's books, but I didn't know how to go about doing it.
Right.
And so anyway, years go by, and our church, I go to Discover Life Church in Cape, we have small groups. And it just happened to be they were starting off their new small groups. And I had asked, well, is there a writing group, a creative writing group? And there was one starting up. So I started going to that creative writing group. And that's when I started my journey, really.
Uh-huh.
The lady that led the class, maybe not taught, she just went, I guess she taught.
In a way, she did.
Yeah, she did. And she basically, I went through the basics.
Right.
And I didn't know what first, second, and third person was. I didn't know a lot of that.
Well, you knew
things.
it, but you didn't put
Right.
a label on it. But
Right,
you didn't know
exactly.
you knew what it was, but you couldn't put a label to it.
That's exactly right. That's
Okay.
right. I knew I had read, I read.
Right.
'cause
You
I
were an
always-
avid reader.
Yes,
But
exactly.
you didn't know what the labels were.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
So I learned a lot through that.
Mhm.
And so then I started taking some workshops. I joined Heartland Writers Guild and SEMO's Writers Guild. And I met some people through those.
Right.
And I learned a lot about writing. And Amanda Flynn taught some workshops.
Uh-huh.
And I went to several of her workshops. She's a children's writer as well.
Right.
And I just, tried to learn as much as I can.
Now, is this the first children's book you've published?
The first one published, traditionally published, yes.
Traditionally published.
Mhm.
Okay. You're listening to Author's Edge, your go-to spot for great conversations with great writers, every Saturday at 8 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. on KWRH929.com and KXOK102.com. Today, we are chatting with Marianne Featherston, author of Stand Tall, Little Twig. Okay. What legacy do you hope your stories will leave?
Oh, that is very true to, is true to my heart. I hope
Mhm.
that the children learn through this that your dreams can come true. No matter who you are, where you came from, no matter what anybody says about you, that your dreams can come true. And sometimes it takes time, just like Twig. He had dreams of being great, and he became great. And you can too.
All right. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your writing process.
Okay.
Okay. And we hit a little bit about it a minute ago, but I want to get a little bit more into it. I'm curious, what's your writing world really like behind the scenes? Can I pull the curtain back and tell the audience how you bring your stories to life? When did you know you wanted to write? When we talked about that a minute ago.
Okay.
So,
I wanted, when my children were small, I've always been an avid reader, which
right,
I
which we
already
established.
established that. But I would read to my children children's books. I mean, they loved to read, loved for me to read to them. And I would read these books and I would think, I could do that. But I thought, how do I go about doing that? And we lived, I mean, back then there was no internet, and there was writing wasn't as easily done back then as it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And but years go by, and I met some people that encouraged me, and I learned a process.
What is your process?
My process is I get a thought and I sit down and write it. Um, there's times that I think of something and then I might write it down and then later go back and write about it. But
Mm-hmm.
it's that's my process. I just and it's not. And when I write it, it may not make a lot of sense at first,
Right.
and then I go back and I redo it and redo it.
Rewrite, rewrite,
Right,
rewrite.
rewrite.
So now, do you get up first thing in the morning and write with your coffee? Do you sit down and do it late in the afternoon with your afternoon tea? I mean, how do you have a special place in your house where just you sit and you do your writing all by yourself and nobody bothers you? Is there chaos going on all around you? Is the dog sitting on your lap?
Okay, it's when I first started writing, I would write at the kitchen table, take my laptop and write at the kitchen table. But now I go into bedroom, and I have a desk in there, and it's quiet, and
Mm-hmm.
I do that. And it's usually in the evenings. Sometimes I write it um, early in the morning, but most of the time I write in the evenings. I do have a full time job too,
Okay.
so. But I was off for a while, and I found out that writing in the mornings is much easier than writing in the evenings.
Why is that?
It just seems like my mind is more clear,
Uh-huh.
and seems like to me that I am more creative in the mornings. I'm not as tired, and yeah.
Okay. How do you know when your story's ready?
Well, that's a good question because sometimes you could just keep writing and writing, but I just, when it comes to where I feel like it's completed, then I stop. But then I also have other people read it
Uh-huh.
because they sometimes, I think it's important, I'll say this, to be in a critique group or at least have someone critique your work, because other people can see things that you don't see. They can even point out something like, hey, you could do this or that, and you think, well, I never thought of it that way. And then it's really good to have someone look at your work. And from what I've read, and I believe this, your family and friends are going to love your work.
No matter what.
Right. Just
they're no somebody that loves you is never going to sit there and say, "My dear, this is horrible."
right. Right. And they may still love it because it's
It's your
friend
stuff.
or your or family member.
Yeah.
But it's good to have someone that you are not close to read it.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes they'll give you some good feedback,
Mhm.
but more times than not, you need an objective
Right.
perspective. And somebody that loves you is never going to give you that objective perspective.
I believe that.
Just
Yes.
won't.
Yes.
What was the best money you spent as a writer?
Oh, that's easy. A new laptop. A new laptop. Yeah, that and critiques, and I mentioned that.
Mhm.
Sometimes you're going to have to spend a little bit of money
Yes.
to
To get a good editor, you have to
right.
spend money.
Right. And I've had this twig. I had it critiqued. More than once, and I had a professional editor critique it as well. And then after she critiqued it, and she gave me some really good pointers, and after that, I felt like it was done. It was completed because you asked me that
Yeah.
a while ago, and I kind of went around it a long
No,
way.
that's great. Where do your stories ideas come from?
Oh, from animals and children and people. You know, even I can even read a story, a children's story, or you're even in a fiction book, and get ideas from those as well. You're not stealing their stuff. It just an idea will pop into your head,
That's very true. That really is. That's very, very true. Do small towns inspire small characters sometimes?
Say that again.
Do small towns inspire small characters?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, I've always lived in a smaller town, and when I'm writing, I would like to write in the small towns. Not everybody in the city knows how life is in the small town or in the country. And see, Twig is written in the country, and I think it's good to have those things in those books.
Yes, I agree. We're just getting started with Marianne Featherstone and her lovely book, Stand Tall, Little Twig. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a moment with more story magic on Author's Edge. Are you an author, publisher, editor, illustrator, songwriter, or artist looking to expand your reach? Advertise on Author's Edge to connect with passionate readers and industry insiders. With engaging interviews, reviews, and discussions, your book will shine. Why choose us? Reach thousands of book lovers, boost sales and visibilities, targeted impactful ads, trusted host endorsements, and elevate your presence with Author's Edge. Contact us today at 573-714-1352, where authors and readers meet. Bada boom.
El Potro Restaurant and Market, located at 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland, offers the finest variety of Mexican and Central American groceries and goods. El Potro Restaurant serves authentic Mexican and Central American cuisine, including daily specials, not to mention the best horchata and tastiest margaritas in St. Louis. Open 7 days a week. El Potro, 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland.
Merton Services is a heating, air conditioning, and commercial refrigeration business that's been providing exceptional services in St. Louis for over 50 years, and they take pride in providing services and comfort to both residential and commercial customers. With the temperatures rising in the summer and dropping in the winter, your comfort and health can be put in jeopardy. With proper checks and maintenance, Mertens will keep your equipment in top shape. And when it's time to replace your furnace or your air conditioner, they've got you covered. With a wide range of options, Mertens has the perfect HVAC system to fit all of your needs. To find out how the good folks at Merton Services can help you with all of your HVAC needs, contact Merton Services at 314-845-1500. That's 314-845-1500. Merton Services, 314-845-1500.
Jewels on Hampton in St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks, sports memorabilia, and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa. Call them at 314-752-5000. 314-752-5000. Jewels on Hampton.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm here with Marianne Featherston, and we're diving into the heart behind her book, Stand Tall, Little Twig. You are listening to Author's Edge, coming to you weekly on Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. on KWRH929.com and KXOK102.com. So let's jump back in and talk about Stand Tall, Little Twig. Let's turn your children's book. It's right here. We have a copy of it right here. It is absolutely gorgeous book. Let's see. There we go. Let's see. It's beautiful. Take a look at this gem. Look at that. And then look at the back. Look how beautifully illustrated that. Look at that. It's illustrated by Tammy Jennings. And we have some really beautiful illustrations. Look at that. All right. Everybody see that? That's absolutely gorgeous. And then, now, why did you write Stand Tall, Little Twig?
Okay. We built our house 20 years ago, and it was in a cornfield.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband ordered 20 seedlings from the Missouri Conservation Department, and he planted all of the seedlings, and one of the seedlings was an oak tree, and it was planted right in front of the house. And in the summer and spring and summer, I would sit out on my porch, and I would watch this tree grow year after year, and I would sing a song to it. Can I sing that song?
Sure can.
Yeah.
It's an oldie from the 60s. Bobby Goldsboro, I believe, sang that song, but it's just the chorus of it. It's, see the tree, how big it's grown, but friend, it hasn't been too long. It wasn't big. I laughed at her and she got mad. The first day that she planted it was just a twig, and that's where twig got its name. Twig.
I love that
would
song.
sing it too.
I remember that song, and I love that song.
I do too. It was a sad song, but
It was a sad song.
but anyway, that's what I would do. And it, it just inspired me to write about the twig, him growing. And then the little boy I had in my mind, the little boy was my little boy,
Mhm.
except the little boy's name is Oliver, and how him and his dad planted the tree. And he said when they planted it, the little boy said, "Stand tall, little twig." So Twig stood tall and said, "Someday I'm going to be great." And he does become great. So, and it goes through the story with, I don't know how much you want me to say, but
No, go ahead. Tell
Okay.
us. Tell us the
It
story.
goes-
As a matter of fact, if you would like to read part of the book, you may. I
okay.
think that would be great.
Okay. Well, at first he wasn't very happy about being dug up out of his comfort home. But the man kept digging, so I'm not reading all of it. But
Okay.
at first he says, "No, no, no, not me. Please not me," said Twig. "The maple across the ditch is much bigger. How about the willow down the lane?" But then the man kept digging. And he dug him up, and he placed him in a paper bag, and then he went down the gravel road Twig tipped and tumbled topsy-turvy as the truck bounced along a gravel road. At last, everything stopped. Suddenly, Twig heard a ripping sound and was pulled out of the bag. Little boy says, "It's such a small twig," said a little boy. "Yes, it is, Oliver, but someday it will be so tall birds will make their homes in its branches. Squirrels and deer will eat its acorns. Its large branches will shade and comfort us during the hot summer." So, anyway, the little twig was planted in front of the little boy's house on the top of a hill. "Stand tall, little twig," said Oliver. Twig stood tall and proud. "Someday I'm going to be great." So, Twig grew to love his new home. Every day the father and little boy visited him. On hot summer days, Oliver sprayed him with water, which tickled his leaves and toes. He loved that. So, different animals visit him. A cardinal, I had to have a red cardinal in it because we're in Missouri. And
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And he perched on one of his branches. Twig wobbled to his right. Then he wobbled to his left. And he said, "Whoa," Twig said to the cardinal. "One day I will have lots of limbs and leaves to protect you from the weather." Soon the cardinal flew away. Later that day, a deer ate grass from Twig's trunk. "Stop, stop, stop! Please don't nibble on my trunk. I want to grow tall and strong. Then you can return year after year and feed on my acorns." Then the deer ran away. So different animals come by to visit him, and he's telling them, "Well, someday I'm going to be great. Someday I'm going to feed you. Someday you're going to be able to have your home in my branches." So years go by. The seasons come and go. And eventually, Twig noticed he's taller than Oliver. He grew and grew and grew. His branches spread out toward the sun and became very strong. Squirrels scrambled up and down his trunk and played hide and seek. Deer ate acorns. Birds chirped songs as they built nests in its branches. And years went by, and Oliver went away a long time. One day, after many years, Twig noticed a man and a young boy walking toward him. "Daddy, what kind of tree is this? How did it get so big?" "Well, son, this is an oak tree. Your grandfather and I planted this tree when I was about your age. Back then, it was just a twig." Twig, now grown, shaded the father and son. Birds chirped, and a squirrel ate acorns as he listened to the father tell about how a little twig stood tall and grew into a great big oak tree. So,
The end.
the end. Was that?
A little bit of a circle of life.
Yeah.
It is a cycle of life.
Yeah.
And,
a little bit of that. A little bit of the circle of life in there.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. I love
Mhm.
it. So how long did it take you to write this?
Well, actually, it didn't really take that long. I had to think about it maybe a couple of weeks. I would sit and write, and then I'd come up with different ideas. But then I kind of laid it aside for a while because COVID hit and my mom got sick, and then I didn't write anything during that period, going back and forth to her home and different things. And then a couple of years ago, I picked it back up, and I met a friend that was in a small group that I was in, and she had started coming to our small group, and she worked for Acclaim Press. And I thought for a while, I wonder if she'd read my story and give me some pointers. And so I got the courage up to send it to her, and she loved it. And then she showed it to Doug, and he loved it. And so
There you go.
There you go.
And history has been made.
It has. And then I met Tammy Jennings.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you about. How did you meet Tammy? How
Okay.
did that happen?
Well, I would like to say and tell and encourage people that like to write is to get involved in writers guilds or write in the writing community or just critique groups. I was involved in the Heartland Writers Guild.
Mhm.
And after I had met with Doug, I had come back to our guild and I was telling them about what happened. And Amanda Flynn had not been all year, but she came to that meeting. And she came to me after the meeting and she said, Marianne, my sister's an artist. And she said she would like to get into illustrating children's books. So, but Doug had already given me a guy's name from Kentucky, but I thought, this may be a God thing and divine intervention.
Right.
And so
Meant to be.
it meant to be, right. And so Tammy sent me some illustrations, some samples, and I sent them to to Monica and also Doug, and I loved them and they loved them. And so
That's how it was born.
and that's how it went.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
So, what kind of impact do you hope this book will have on readers?
Well, I hope that it gives them hope
Mm-hmm.
and that their dreams can come true. Don't
Have-
give up on your dreams.
So, yes,
Don't give up on them.
never.
And no matter how old you are, because I started later in life. A lot of people start when they're even teenagers write and publish books, but you're never too old or too young. And no matter what anyone says to you, your writing's not good enough, or even yourself. I've done this. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. Who do you think you are? Don't let those negative.
Imposter syndrome.
Yes, don't do that. Just keep writing, because God has put this talent in you. So write.
Have you shared the twig with schools and
Yes. Actually, I've had several schools contact me. As a matter of fact, I was at Nell Holcomb last night. They were kicking off their April book reading,
Mm-hmm.
and they asked me to come. And I actually on Arbor Day, is it still called Arbor Day?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to the Jackson Library. They've asked me to come there, and they're going to give away trees. And they asked me to do a reading and bring my books.
Wonderful.
And Jackson School has asked me to come later in this month. So it's just been a great.
And you've also been on Channel 12.
I sure have. I was on there last week.
That's wonderful. And is there a link to it, or is there somehow?
Yes, there's a link.
Can you share that with our audience?
I have it on my Facebook. You can go to KFBS 12. I think you can just go to.
Well, we can go to your Facebook page, right?
Yes, you can go to
so,
my Facebook
and that
page.
would be how? How do we get?
Marianne. I've got my maiden name in there. Marianne Williams Featherston is how
Okay.
you can look me up, and it's on my page
Okay,
where I have
because
shared
then
it.
we can see it. We can see you on KFES 12.
Yes.
You're becoming famous. I know someone famous, guys.
No.
No longer a twig. You're
No, yeah,
blossoming.
you're blossoming. I know someone famous. I know someone famous.
No. I'm just a
No,
person
no,
that likes to
no.
write
D-
and encourage people.
You know what that's called? Imposter syndrome.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
You've got the accolades. Use them. Go, girl.
Thank you. Thank
You've
you.
also written some grown-up books.
I have. I've written 2 cookbooks,
Mm-hmm.
and I wrote a Between Sisters book, which is really a gift book that you would give to your sister, your mother, your friend, or your friend that's like a sister. I wrote that during the period when my sister was going through colon cancer. And at that time, it's a quote book. It's just different quotes. I wrote
Mhm.
several quotes throughout there, and I wrote other quotes from other people. And it was a time that it was, and my sister loved it. It was a trying time for us, but
Uh-huh.
that's what it was for. But I've had several people buy that for gifts, and I mean, to give to their sister, friend, mother, daughter. It's on Amazon.
It's on
Mhm. It's
Amazon.
on
Okay.
Amazon. Mhm.
Okay, good. And the cookbooks?
They're on Amazon as well.
Okay. Now tell me about the cookbooks.
Okay. The first cookbook that I wrote is it's just a recipe
Simple
book.
recipes.
Simple recipes. Yes.
All right,
it
you
is.
wrote two. One was simple recipes and one is simple desserts.
Right.
All right, I want to talk about both of them because I really like desserts.
Okay.
I'm into desserts. Okay, so
Okay.
let's talk about simple recipes.
Okay. Simple recipes I love to cook. And, when you're going to a party or to a gathering, you want to take a special recipe or one of your favorite recipes. And I was looking through, I have a lot. I probably have 50 cookbooks, maybe more.
Oh, I do too. I have so
Maybe
many. I have so many cookbooks, and my husband keeps saying to me, "What are you going to? You can only cook one recipe at a time."
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And what are you going to do with all of these? All I like to read them.
I do too.
I sit in the bookstore and I read them like you would read a novel. I read them.
That's funny. Well, anyway, I thought, I could go through all of my cookbooks and find all my favorite recipes. And some of them are family recipes and church
Mhm.
cookbooks that people put together or organizations. So I pulled out all of my favorite recipes and put them together
In one book?
To one book.
Oh, that
And
sounds like such a cool idea.
Yes, you need to do that.
I do.
You should do that. And what I designed it, I put scripture throughout the cookbook
Uh-huh.
and also old hymnals that are in public domain. Some of my favorite hymnals, and it turned out just beautiful. It's probably been my bestseller.
Yeah.
Is between.
Well, until this.
Until
this one.
Until this. Oh yes. Until this one. You're
Until
right.
this one.
Exactly.
This is going to be a bestseller.
It is. Well,
no,
it's so far between my books. It's been a bestseller, and I'm hoping it's a bestseller throughout the United States and world. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be awesome. But on simple recipe, what's your favorite recipe that you have in there? Now, what's one that hubby says if you don't make it? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Well, one of my favorite is cowboy caviar. I love
what
that.
Is that?
It's a dip. It's got tomatoes and different spices and
cowboy caviar,
black beans, black beans, corn, and it's really you make a seasoning to go with it.
Uh-huh.
It's one of my favorite, and a lot of people, friends' favorites.
What about like a main course favorite?
Let's see. Vegetable favorite is the cheesy potatoes. And then I like. Let me see. There's a chicken casserole in there that I like, that you use Ritz crackers and sour cream and.
Ooh, that sounds good too. Oh, now I'm getting hungry.
Soup and,
Okay, now how about desserts? Now that's and I know there's going to be a chocolate one.
There is several.
There's going to be a
ones.
chocolate one.
Yes, there's. I think there's. I wish I'd have brought that one in. There's one in there. It's just a caramel chocolate cake recipe. It's really easy and it's really good. I have a lot of people like that recipe.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yes.
Oh my goodness gracious, that sounds so good.
And that one I designed that one as well. And it has all the scripture that I put at the bottoms of the page. Most of the pages have scripture. They're all promises. You know, the
Oh.
Bible is full of promises,
Uh-huh.
and that's what I put. So you can get inspired and read the promises that God has for you,
And have cake.
and eat cake and cookies or whatever you want to make.
What else is there? I'm telling you, what else is there? Oh, you're tuned in to Author's Edge, where book stories and the people behind them take center stage. We air Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sundays at 7 a.m. on KWRH929.com and KXOK102.com. And today we're talking with Marianne Featherston about her delightful book, Stand Tall, Little Twig, and her cookbooks, Simple Recipes and Simple Desserts. Now, how do you see children's books evolving in today's world?
You know, there's a lot of things that are on the internet, and I don't know if that's the correct answer to your question, but
There is no correct answer. It's
Well-
what you think.
I think there will always be books for children.
I do too.
I mean,
There's nothing in this world that I think that's better than holding on to
Right.
a book in your hand and feeling the book.
Right.
And smelling the book.
Yes, yes.
And feeling the pages of the book.
Yes.
A
I agree.
Kindle is fine if you're traveling and you just want something junk food to just to flip through and read and
Right.
but there is nothing that will replace a book in hand.
Right.
And for children's book, you have to have those illustrations
Yes.
and you have to have it in hand.
Yes. I agree.
I don't see I don't know.
That's what I think. I think children, they learn by touch, feel, and seeing, tasting. And of course, a small child's going to put the book in their mouth. And
That's why they're called board books.
yes, exactly. But, and they're going to, that's how you learn, that's how I learned to love to read, is by showing me there's books out there that you can read, and there's all kinds of things, there's
Yes.
science books, there's history, there's, all just pleasure. Things
Yes.
for pleasure.
Would you ever consider writing for digital platforms or apps?
I don't know. Probably not.
Why?
I just, I don't know. Apps. No, I just don't think. I just
You don't
don't.
think that's up your alley?
I don't think that's up my alley. Now my cookbooks are. You can download them onto your iPad or whatever. You can do that through Amazon.
Mhm.
You can't this one yet. I don't know if that will be available to do that, but that way, digital.
Right.
But apps, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
know.
hadn't thought about it.
But
Actually,
and even AI, like how do you see AI fitting into your writing world?
well, AI takes out the creativity of
That's
the children's. I mean, I think it's okay to use AI if you want to ask a question, about something.
like the price of tea in China.
Or so, you need to, or if you're doing research or things like that. But
Or you need something like a grammar question,
right, and I've
or a
done
spelling
that.
question,
Right,
or
I've
something
done
of
that.
that nature. Yes,
But as far as writing a book, I just no.
it takes the humanness out of it, the
Mhm.
humanity out of it, the feeling of it's. It's. I don't know if you've ever watched like Star Trek.
Oh yes,
Yeah. See, I'm a big Trekkie person, but
Mm.
you remember Data
yes,
and his whole desire to be
yes.
human?
Yes,
I think that's what happens. You take out that humanness
yes.
of you.
Yes.
How do you balance timeless themes with modern relevance? The timeless themes.
The scenes you said
Themes.
These time. How do I
Theme, like-
balance the
Mhm.
timeless themes? Well, you just have to make time. You just got to
Yeah.
make time for.
No, I was talking about themes. THEMES. Themes.
Timeless themes.
I know. I was the.
Well, timeless themes like
Making them more relevant.
well, I feel like this is kind of like a timeless book,
Right.
and you just have to. I don't know if that's a good answer, but
Kind of like the fact that, all right, this book is timeless.
right,
All right,
exactly.
and making it relevant to today. How did you making this book a relevant book to today?
Well, it is
Growing
timeless.
up
Yes, growing up, a child in the country.
is always relevant.
Yes. Now, children in the city are going to have a different type of growing up
And experience, yeah,
right, experience. But it's good, I think, for children to read what's in the
Growing
country.
up in the country is like,
and the children from the country need to read about what it's like growing up in the city.
right.
So times change, children, we all
Right.
change, and
But certain things never change.
Yes,
Growing up doesn't change.
right,
Father and son doesn't change.
right,
Just because it's happened when they were at a different time frame doesn't change to today.
right, exactly.
That's exactly.
Okay.
Stepping away from this for a moment, what brings you joy when you are not writing?
Oh, well, my family, and of course, I love God and my church, and I love praise and worship. I just the most joy I have is being with my husband and my family. And
Well, he is a cutie, I'll tell you. He's just sitting there, just chilling. He's just sitting there chilling.
And just one thing that I enjoy is we like to travel.
I was going to ask you, how's that traveling?
Well, last year we went out to Colorado, and we like to go to and see places that like the mountains, and you feel like you realize when you're out in those places that only God could create this, and it's all the United States. There's so many things in there I've never even seen that someday, hopefully, I'll get to see the Grand Canyon. And
the Grand Canyon's lovely.
Yes, I've seen pictures, but I've never been there. But those kinds of things give me pleasure. Does
travel spark story ideas?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't really written one about traveling, but I've thought about, all the different animals and things that I've seen. And so,
what's your most memorable trip?
The most memorable?
That you've taken, and why?
I think it was when we went to South Dakota. There were so many things to see there, and Mount Rushmore. Is that the name of it? From Mount Rushmore with all the presidents. That was amazing. And we went to Custer Park when we were out there. Oh my goodness, it was beautiful. All the animals and the buffalo and the deer and the elk and antelope, and that was probably the best trip. Although we went to Washington, D.C. a few years ago too, and that was a different kind of a trip, but that was an amazing trip as well.
What was amazing about it?
Well, everything.
What did you see?
Oh, we saw, of course, Washington Monument, and
did you go to Arlington?
We went to Arlington. When the unknown soldier, when they did that,
changing of the guard.
Changing of the guard. That was amazing.
That is
That-
amazing.
That was amazing. And we also went to Mount Vernon, which is not far from there.
Mhm.
And that was awesome as well. It was a different kind of trip, but it was,
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
every
glad
trip
we
is
did it.
different. Every trip is different.
Yes,
And it's
yes.
got different things that you're amazed by.
oh, yes.
Um,
One thing I will say, and it's kind of sad, I did not like the museum where all the Jews had all the
the Holocaust
Oh,
Museum.
that was off. We went in there and all the shoes and the story about the little boy. And it was just,
It's sad.
it's so sad. I think every American needs to go through that museum.
Yes. And see what horrors
Yes.
humans do to other humans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
So what's special about living in Cape Girardeau?
oh, well, I love the people. It's a small town. You got everything you need, and you don't have to go to St. Louis or you don't have to go to Memphis or to get
Mhm.
things that you need. The people are good and kind. Most people are anywhere you go.
I agree with you on that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And it's just we just really like it. It's beautiful, actually. We live in the country from Cape, and so
Okay, I have two more
Okay.
questions for you. If you
Okay.
could sit down with your younger self, what would you say about your writing journey?
right.
Okay. And write some more.
and write some more. Yeah.
What's next for you? Any new projects or dreams in the works?
I plan to keep on writing children's stories. I do have I have a novel I've been writing on.
A novel.
Yes. I've been
And you
writing
want to
on-
give us a quick
It's just
peek?
it's a fiction novel, and I have been writing on it for a while, and it's I don't want to give it away too
Okay.
much, but it's about a young girl and a young boy that life happens,
Okay.
and hopefully
It works out
it
well in
works
the end.
out well for them.
So how can we get a hold of you and your books?
You can, well, if you want to order books, you can get them through Acclaim Press, or you can get them through Amazon, Books A Million,
Okay.
Barnes and Noble. You can also contact me
At
at, well, Marianne63701 at msn.com. It's my email.
Okay, Marianne, thank you so much for hanging out with us today at Author's Edge. It's been truly a joy chatting with you. And to all of you listening, we're so glad you spent a little time with us. If you haven't already checked out Marianne Featherston's book, Stand Tall, Little Twig, it's available on Amazon and well worth the read. We'll be back next time with more great conversations, writing tips, and inspiration. Our next guest, Larry Lovin, author of Iron Brotherhood, We Went to Woodstock, and The Elephant. It's going to be a fun one. Until then, keep reading, keep writing, and we'll see you around the inkwell.